Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're telling a story that's, well, it's deeply unsettling. It's filled with unanswered questions, and it leaves this kind of lingering chill. It's a true account of relentless harassment, profound fear, and a mystery that actually persists to this day. We're talking about Bill and Dorothy Wacker. What makes their ordeal so disturbing, really, is the lack of any clear motive. You know, in most criminal cases, you can eventually figure out why someone might be targeted. But here, the reasons behind what happened, they just remained elusive. And that adds this whole other layer of terror, doesn't it? It's completely baffling. Bill and Dorothy, they were an elderly couple living a pretty quiet life in Massillon, Ohio. Same house for over 40 years. Bill, born 1920, a World War II vet. Dorothy, born 1927. Just normal folks. But then in 1984, their peaceful life just started to unravel. It was the beginning of this bewildering and, frankly, terrifying series of events. So today, we're going to walk you through what happened to the Wackers. We'll look at the strange incidents, the police investigations.
And, you know, the theories people have come up with to try and make sense of what seems like a totally senseless campaign of terror. The nightmare for Bill and Dorothy, it actually began kind of subtly, 1984. 2 separate times their house was broken into, ransacked. Now, you'd think they'd call the police right away, wouldn't you? But they didn't. For some reason, they didn't report either of those first 2 incidents.
Yeah, that initial silence it's interesting. Sometimes victims, they hope it's isolated, or maybe there's embarrassment or fear it might make things worse if they involve police. It's a kind of understandable human reaction, but it can sometimes, allow things to escalate without immediate checks.
Exactly. It wasn't until January 16th, 1985, after their home was targeted a 3rd time, ransacked again,
Right.
that they finally called law enforcement. 3 times before they reached out. And when the police investigated, absolutely nothing, no clues, no leads on who did it. After those initial break-ins, things actually went quiet for a few months, like maybe it was over. But then, July 1985, the harassment took a much, much more sinister turn. We're moving from property damage to direct physical assault. Dorothy was home alone. She was still recovering from heart surgery, which makes this even worse. Someone knocks on the door, a man, a stranger. He says his car broke down, asks to use the phone. And Dorothy, being a kind person, she let him in. He made a quick call, thanked her, seemed to leave. But he hadn't actually left.
That's a very common predator technique, isn't it? Playing on kindness, the whole broken down car story, it lowers defenses, makes the victim feel secure right before the attack, and her recent surgery. Well, that vulnerability might have been known or just tragically coincidental.
It's just awful how he used her kindness against her. As she turned her back, he just crept up and hit her over the head, knocked her out cold.
Yeah.
When she came to, she was on the kitchen floor, bound and gagged. The guy was gone. She somehow managed to drag herself to a window, got her neighbor's attention. They called the police. Miraculously, she wasn't seriously injured, physically at least, but there was this chilling message left on her dining room wall. Scrawled in crayon, it said, "Cheaper but will do. Cheaper but will do." I mean, what on earth does that mean in crayon? It's so bizarre. It adds this weirdly personal, taunting element.
Oh, absolutely. That message is key. Cheaper but will do. It implies some sort of transaction, or maybe a substitution. Like the assault was plan B. It could hint at a debt, maybe, where the assault is a form of payment. Or it could just be pure psychological warfare, designed to make them rack their brains, feel targeted for some unknown reason. And the crayon, it feels mocking, almost childishly cruel.
That's a really disturbing way to think about it. So several items were stolen then. An antique watch, a radio scanner, the kind you listen to police frequencies on, a revolver, and a few other things. Dorothy described the attacker. White man, mid-20s, blonde, blue eyes, about 5'9", never identified. Police checked pawn shops, dealers everywhere, trying to trace the stolen goods, find a lead. Nothing. Vanished. Okay, get this. Months after the assault, Bill finds his stolen revolver back on their front porch, just sitting there, wrapped in a plastic bag. And over time, the other stolen items, they also reappeared, returned the same way. This completely turns the idea of burglary on its head, right? What does that suggest?
Completely. Returning stolen goods, especially wiped clean, isn't about money. It's about control. Psychology. Investigators confirmed, they were meticulously wiped, no fingerprints. This points to someone whose main goal is psychological torment. They're showing they can violate the Wacker space, take things, return them, and remain totally invisible. It's a massive power play. It basically screams, I'm in control here, you're helpless.
It feels so calculated, less like random crime, more like a campaign. And soon after the items came back, the harassing phone calls started. Sometimes threats, other times just deep breathing on the line, which is somehow even creepier, It implies they're always listening.
The breathing calls are classic intimidation. Presence without words. It creates this constant anxiety, the feeling of being watched.
So the whackers, they changed their phone number multiple times, trying to stop the calls, but the calls kept coming, which means the harasser somehow kept getting their new unlisted number. How does that even happen back then?
That's a huge red flag for investigators. Getting unlisted numbers repeatedly in the 80s, early 90s, very difficult. It strongly suggests either someone inside the phone company, which is possible but less likely, or someone very close to the whackers, someone who'd be given the new number. It really pushes the theory away from a random stranger towards, well, an insider.
Right. A random person just wouldn't have that access multiple times.
Yeah.
This person was like embedded in their lives somehow.
Yeah.
And the harassment didn't stop there. It escalated again. After dark, they'd hear banging sounds on the side of the house. They'd go, look, check outside. Nothing. Just noises in the dark meant to unsettle them. So trying to fight back, they installed a security light. Makes sense, right? Trying to deter whoever it is. But shortly after, they find a note on the front porch mocking them. It read, "Your lights are a laugh." But laugh was spelled Laugha with a Z.
That note is so revealing. It's pure taunting. They're saying, I see your little security measure and it's pathetic. It doesn't stop me. They're watching. And that misspelling, the Z, again, that mocking, almost juvenile tone that's deeply unsettling coming from an adult tormentor, it's psychological warfare.
And more notes started showing up, threatening, mocking. Police looked at the handwriting and said it looked deliberately disguised. Uneven, jagged, maybe written with the non-dominant hand, and again, 0 fingerprints. The care this person took to leave no trace, it just adds to the chill factor. This whole pattern, the calls, the banging, the notes it went on for 8 years. 8. Can you imagine living like that, under constant threat for nearly a decade? Then, in 1993, it got worse again. Back to physical violence. October 27, 1993, nighttime. Dorothy's attacked in her home again. Bill was out. This time was worse. Skull lacerations, a concussion. She had to be hospitalized. A brutal escalation after years of just psychological torture.
That second assault is significant. It proves the perpetrator wasn't just playing games anymore, or maybe never was. The potential for serious harm was always there. And the real injuries, needing hospitalization, that really counters any lingering thoughts this could somehow be, self-inflicted or exaggerated.
Police searched the area, questioned neighbors again. Same result. Nothing. No witnesses, no leads. Like chasing a ghost. Things got so desperate, the police even briefly considered Bill as a suspect. He and Dorothy denied it completely, obviously. But you can see how frustrated the police must have been.
Yeah, when a case is this bizarre with no external leads, investigators have to consider internal possibilities, even painful ones. It shows the dead ends they were hitting. Lack of evidence forces them to look at every angle, no matter how unlikely it seems on the surface.
So the Whackers decided to take matters into their own hands. November 1993, they set up their own stakeout, a serious one. 3 groups, 2-way radios, Bill hid in a trailer in the driveway, 2 sons-in-law in a van across the street. Dorothy and her daughter Kathy inside the house. They were determined to catch this person. They waited for 4 hours. Tense, I imagine. Around 10:30 p.m., they figured, okay, nothing's happening, let's call it off. But just as they're wrapping up, thumping sounds on the porch. They go, look, another note. This one just said, "Get the message."
Unbelievable audacity. The perpetrator knew about the stakeout. They were watching the watchers, leaving that note right then, right there. It's the ultimate display of contempt and control. It's like saying, you can't catch me, I see everything you do, and haven't you learned anything yet? That final, get the message, it implies the whole 8 years was the message.
Exactly. They were being taunted while they were trying to catch him.
Yeah.
Just incredible psychological pressure.
Yeah.
And then that was it. The get the message note. That was the last reported incident. After 8 years of relentless terror, it just stopped. Cold. Bill Whacker passed away July 9th, 1999. He was 79. Dorothy passed away July 22nd, 2010, aged 83. And the story just ends there, unsolved. Leaving you with so many questions, right? With both of them gone, we might never know the full truth. But theories, there are theories. Let's try to piece together what might have been going on.
Right. And that sudden stop after get the message is maybe the biggest clue to the motive. If it was random violence, why stop? Why not just fade away? The definitive stop suggests the perpetrator felt their goal, whatever it was achieved. The message was delivered or understood in their mind.
Okay, theory 1. Someone owed money. Maybe Bill, maybe Dorothy. That cheaper but will-do note could fit, right? Like the assault was a cheaper form of payback. But they never mentioned any debts. No evidence ever surfaced.
Yeah.
Does that theory hold up for you, considering everything else?
It seems thin. A debt might explain the first assault in that specific note, maybe. But 8 years of psychological torture. Returning stolen items meticulously cleaned. The phone calls. That doesn't feel like standard debt collection, even the criminal kind. It's too personal, too prolonged, too weird, unless the debt was something deeply personal, not monetary.
Okay, what about the idea that it was a hoax, orchestrated by one or both of them? They denied it, and Dorothy's injuries were definitely real, documented hospital visits. Could someone really fake that level of injury repeatedly? It seems incredibly extreme.
Extremely. The hoax theory is really difficult to sustain given the documented physical trauma, especially the concussion and skull lacerations from the second attack. While not impossible for someone to engage in self-harm for complex reasons, this level over this duration, it makes the hoax theory very, very unlikely for me.
So that really leaves the inside job idea, or someone very close. Think about it. Not reporting the first two break-ins, maybe protecting someone, the returned items. And crucially, getting those new phone numbers every single time. That points strongly to someone they knew, doesn't it? Could it have been one of their kids? Seeking attention, maybe? Or holding some kind of grudge? Or maybe an old enemy, someone holding on to a vendetta for years?
The phone number access is the linchpin for the insider theory, I think. In that era, it's the hardest piece to explain with a random attacker. It points strongly towards someone in the immediate circle family, a close friend, maybe even a neighbor they trusted implicitly, or someone with specific access, like we discussed. And an 8-year campaign, that suggests a deep, perhaps old grievance, something personal, something maybe hidden from their public life, rooted in family history or past conflicts.
It's just the meticulous planning, avoiding fingerprints, the constant surveillance implied, the mocking notes, knowing about the stakeout, and then the abrupt stop. It all points to someone intelligent, motivated, and intimately familiar with their lives. It wasn't random. It felt surgically precise in its cruelty. The case of Bill and Dorothy Wacker, it's just a chilling reminder of how terrifying fear can be when you don't know who's causing it or why. 8 years they lived like that, under this shadow. Their lives completely changed by someone operating in the dark, leaving only questions behind. That final note, get the message. What message? Did the tormentor feel they finally succeeded? What does it mean when someone stops because they think they've won, not because they're caught? It just leaves you with this deep sense of unease. Maybe some mysteries just stay mysteries. We hope this story, this deep dive into the Wacker case, stays with you. If you found this compelling, maybe think about your own theories. And please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs, for more unsettling narratives like this one. Thanks for listening.